Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to talk to you about Heloise the Hollow and specifically around this card's amazing utility. Is it overpowered? Does it break the game? Some people seem to think so. I don't. But more important than that, I want to focus on the conversation around card design in general. If that sounds interesting, stick around. Let's get into it. Have an amazing day. God bless. I saw a comment from Ghostly BG. Let's see if I can pull it up on the screen for you. So Ghostly BG three days ago dropped a comment on an FAQ video that I did, and I was talking about Heloise the Hollow and its value. And one of the things I think I touched on was how some of the people who have it aren't necessarily using it, at least not very often. And Ghostly has some spice to say about that. So I'm not entirely sure I disagree with him, by the way. And let's listen to this. Okay, so he says, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but the fact that Housewife or their scholar have barely played the card is a bit fishy. I'm not sure what MB means. Maybe their algo for what's best to play with Heloise has not been updated yet. And my experience with the card tells me that this is like Venka at release, and it's that spammable. Yeah, so I mean, and then Ivan jumps into, yeah, even in this random example, it's soloed 4 strong cards and still alive. Yeah, I don't remember the actual sample of that I showed in that video. Clearly, it's powerful. Yes, totally. I've seen it fail though, and I don't see people talking about that actually either. So I want to say, first off, it's awesome. It's powerful. I do think it's beatable. I do think there's ways that people can counter it. I do think it's actually kind of simple with some respect. Like, for instance, blind or dodge or flight can all be a problem for it because it doesn't have a true strike. And so if it doesn't hit its shot, then it doesn't do its damage. That's one piece. Another piece is that armor, repair, shield, anything that's going to reduce that big 8 bomb and allow that to be problematic. Also, thorns on your characters, because he's going to come bring melee damage, she's going to bring melee damage, and then she's going to hurt herself. So that is a bit of how I've seen it be responded to, and I've watched 10 Heloise the Hollow matches. And it clearly has a winning record. Like I don't have enough data on it. I don't have I wish I actually had 3 examples stored up, and I was gonna do a video on this and show you guys what I'm seeing and how I'm seeing it being used and how I'm seeing it work and not work. And that I probably will do that. I think I almost should do that. But today, with it being down for or updated or whatever, down for maintenance, we can't. I'll just say it's obvious. It's awesome. It's all. You might use the word overpowered. I do think it has counters. I do think it's imperfect. I do think it doesn't. I know, in fact, it doesn't work in every circumstance. And so sometimes we say that phrase overpowered for any certain card or any certain thing. And you go, well, what do you mean by that? It's really good. It wins 60% of the time. Maybe it wins 70% of the time. I don't actually know. It'll be cool to see some of the data and actually, you guys should follow. You should either use Splinter Coach. I don't have it. Oh, there it is. You should either. I got to renew. You should either use Splinter Coach, or you should at least go to X and follow Geeked Out Basketball, and you will learn. You will learn a lot about the stats within Splinterlands, and I wonder if he's featured it. This was really telling to me. Tofu playing, he's got 150 matches on Tofu, over 700. That's a crazy record. Now, I think this is like Byzantine Kitty heyday stuff. Like in the top of the top when Kitty was like the king, this is that good. And so some of the best cards do that. Many of the best cards win it like a 6 out of 10 matches, a 60%. Things like Dr. Blight or even Night Stalker. Some amazing cards, like 60% win rate is amazing. And so my point is The best of the best cards don't win 100% of the games that they play. Everything works in certain situations and not in others. And so you should follow Geeked Out Basketball because you'll see a lot more stuff like that from him on here, featuring a lot of different cards and showing some really cool maybe combinations or considerations. But look at this. He's on October 28th. He was featuring Mantaroth and Grimbard and Smith. This is another piece of my point that I was trying to feature in a video recently while talking about Heloise Hollow. If we understand that there are cards in this game that are amazing and they're disproportionately better than others. They win in more situations and circumstances. You can say one thing, or you can draw two conclusions from it. One, that's an example of power creep and it breaks the game. Or two, there is a card for every circumstance and I can't afford everything. Right? Those are two approaches to the same conversation. Many people say things like the best cards break the game. The power creep is ruining this thing. I'm feeling more and more frustrated. I don't want to play as much because I can't beat that. And it's this negative sentiment that comes because you don't have and you can't get. And the reality of Splinterlands is that you don't have and you can't get. Like I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Gold Matters, who's like, or, I've been playing some of my Guild Brawl battles. I wish I could feature that, like open it up right now. But some of these people have 100 million. Actually, I was looking at Housewife's account. Housewife has, I think it's 99 million collection power. Like that is so insane. The amount of assets that they own in this game. And yet they don't have every card. I know they don't. I actually haven't checked, but there got to be gaps. And let's say even if they do have everything, there's such a minority of individuals in this small ecosystem that are ever going to do that. So the point is, most 99.999% of people will never have all the assets. And that's you and me. And so then the question isn't, am I going to get beat by some things that I don't have? You will. That's a fact. Yes, there's no wriggling out of that. In a card game where you can't have everything, you're going to lose to assets you don't have. Period. That's not the follow-up question is, do you let that ruin your experience? Or do you say, well, I'm not going to spend $1,000 on one card, right? I'm not going to spend 1.3 million DC on Heloise Hollow. I'm not going to spend, how about, pretty much maybe 800,000 DC on, I just showed you Tofu. This is the other piece, right? It's like, whether it's Heloise Hollow or whether it's cards like Tofu, which I just showed you has a 72% win record on one example and probably 70 plus on average. Are you going to come in and spend today? You could spend $600. Is that a good deal? Because Heloise Hollow is double that. And it's one card, it's a monster, not a summoner. So maybe Eternal Tofu is a smoking deal of this. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm not buying this one either. I'm saying there's tons of assets, even to me, like by most people's perspective, I'm a whale in this space and they're just things I'm not going to get. And I'm okay with that. And actually, when you start to be okay with that, it transforms how your posture in the process. I'm okay not having everything. I want to have everything, but I know I don't need everything. And I can still win pretty like a solid, I win over half my games. And yet I don't have everything. I don't have, on this screen, I don't have Tofu and I don't have Cryptic. Those are pretty meaningful. And then from the monsters on the Rebellion side, from legendaries, I don't have a max level. I have like a level 1 Demise. I don't have a Solace. I don't have a Barrage. I don't have a Baron Fiat. I don't have Endura. I don't have Commander Goff. I don't have Kai. I don't have Warborn. I don't have, like, the assets I don't have are more, it's a larger list than the ones I do. And I'm a pretty big player in this game. Like I have tens of thousands of dollars worth of cards. And so we just have to, I guess what I'm trying to do is, out of this conversation around Heloise and whether or not they're using it, and just the topic even coming up, I guess I wanted to have this conversation about how do we approach the fact that we are going to lose to certain assets we cannot ever have? Because that's the truth. Is that game breaking to you, or is that just, well, that was the one battle that I can't beat, but I'm going to play 22 other battles today and I'm going to win half of them anyways. And I'm going to have fun with that process. Like if we shoot hoops and you kick my ass, I can still have fun playing basketball. I got exercise. I had time outside with you, with a friend. Maybe probably we're chatting, right? There's incidental benefits and joys that can be had along the way, even while you lose. And not everybody holds that opinion. So I think that, to me, is the bigger conversation around Heloise Hollow. But I do want to, I kind of sidestepped a spicy conversation, and I want to come back to it quickly. I won't spend too much time on this because I don't have anything to add. The comment was, I wonder if they have a bot and the bot hasn't updated its data on how meaningful Heloise is. That could be true. We don't have any reason to believe that. Or we don't have, rather, I'm going to be as specific and as accurate as I can speak here. We don't have any evidence to draw that conclusion, except that they don't use it as much as you think they should. And it's fair to say there are other reasons why they might not use it. Not just because it's one card on that's playable on two different splinters, but also because even if they're a human, they have an algorithm in their mind, right? You have certain patterns of play that you utilize and rely on to win in Splinterlands. We're talking, especially with Housewife, top of the top within the Modern League. I think she was third in the Modern League. And so every match matters. I don't believe that those players in the top 10 are ever kind of saying to themselves, what should I play in this rule set? It's almost always, this rule set means I play blank. And that's a human. That's just a human who knows the game. And that happens to you and me too, probably not as frequently, but there are certain rule sets that you can point to where you always do X. Magic only, maybe you always do Thaddeus. Magic only, maybe you always do Immortalis. If Immortalis is available, Immortalis. If Immortalis is not available, Thaddeus. If Thaddeus is not available, maybe it's Kalia because you want the speed advantage and you're going to use phase with your main tank. I'm forgetting it now. Chaos Legion, main tank, magic, legendary. But my point is, you have certain plays of your pattern that you will always rely on, you keep coming back to, because you've played enough that you're not gonna go into a magic only rule set and be confused. In that rule set, I probably should play like a certain team. And the same is true with newer people, right? Oh, it's a reward card, that's why. Getting confused. Oceanus is the one I was trying to remember. It's got phase at the, phase and void is such an enforced meal. What a great combination. So those are three examples in one context. And I think the best of the best players have every rule set and every circumstance thought through. And yes, that might sound vast, like there's crazy number of circumstances. Sure. But generally speaking, if magic is excluded, then I'm going to be focusing on these splinters. If melee is excluded, I'm going to be focusing on these splinters. And I would argue, for instance, like if tofu is available, looks like you're throwing that one in there. And I'm seeing a lot of times Heloise Hollow gets dropped with tofu, with Venka, both of them at the same time. And so I can't say I think you're wrong. I definitely don't think you're right. Like I don't have any opinion on that except to say there's other reasons that could be explaining the same thing. I think it's worth asking that question. It's kind of fun to think about, but I don't know Housewife, and I think there's other reasons we could explain that away with. But thank you for the comment for sure. Yeah, to me the bigger question with respect to Heloise the Hollow is just the attitude that the community has brought to whether OP cards, whether power creep breaks Splinterlands or not. Because power creep exists, it has to. If new cards were worse than old cards, would we buy them? I don't know. I do argue that some amount of power creep is probably justifiable and logical and necessary. Some. And I do believe and agree you could get that wrong. But then even if a new card is too powerful, like broken, let's say, The issue that the team, or the approach the team has implemented thus far, and I hope they stay to, is not to nerf, but rather to bring out counters. And so, yeah, I think some counters that I could imagine just off the top of my head would be more protect, more repair, more shield, more triage, more, because all of those things would create the resiliency that lets you weather that storm. Because the Heloise Hollow, the Achilles heel to it is it burns itself out. Yes, it can burn through your entire team. Totally. Again, awesome card. But the vulnerability of that is it's not going to be there in round 10. If you somehow survive the full frontal assault of all of those spike attacks, then you will win, because that major player will disappear. That's how I see it losing. That's when it loses. It doesn't execute. It just hurts. And if you can out resilient, like your resiliency is greater, that's how you can win with it. But even still, of course, it's a good card. The argument is not, therefore it sucks. It's probably a 60-70% winner. And yet I'm not buying one. I'm not spending $1,300 on one. DC 850 Splintoshi, so we're even up from where we were. But if we go 1.3 million DEC times 0.850, we're at $1,100 US. Now I know some people have bought them for a little cheaper, so let's go there. Let's call it 105. I think nope, that's wrong. There we go. A few have sold in this price brace too, so let's go there. 0.00085. So that's $900 US. I'm okay with saying I'm not getting it, and that doesn't ruin the game to me. There's one more thing I wanted to say on that. I mentioned briefly about Mantaroth and Grimbarden Smith and Tofu. If we want to talk about, if we want to acknowledge that certain cards are powerful, and maybe that they, like this didn't start yesterday. That's I guess a piece that I'm speaking to here. Yeah, power cards are amazing. Oceanus was, when it was first released, and while it was still scarce because it wasn't always so prolific, it was amazing. And it still is amazing. It's just, the difference is everyone can get one because it's cheap. And I think that's sometimes what people want. They want the amazing card, but they want it for really cheap. And then they can get it and they can play with it and they can counter to it, they can mirror it, etc. I just don't share that frustration, because I understand that high value cards are a good thing for the marketing of our game. They're also a good thing because they give whales places to spend money. It's also a fine thing if I end up losing to it. You just have to be okay with that. I'm still carrying a greater than 500 win record. I don't have Tofu. I don't have Venka. I don't have, right? On and on and on. So that might be a bit of a hot take. I bet some of you will disagree with me and feel like, yeah, but you don't get it. Like Heloise is too broken, and it really represents the team's failure in card design, and this is the beginning of a slippery slope, and this will ruin the game. I do hear that tone in some people's comments on this issue. So for the last 20 minutes, I've been trying to push back. I hope that's where you see where that's coming from, because I think, yeah, enough said.